Before the time of Aristotle, you relied on divine intervention to be able to get an answer to a problem. But around 500 years ago, Robert Boyle popularized the scientific method of inquiry. That instead of relying on logic, reasoning, you have heard of the deductive and inductive reasoning to arrive at an answer. We need to use empiricism. And then the scientific method of inquiry was born. But the most important thing related to the question that Paul was asking, true, you can be able to do research outside a formal institutional academic setup. History of research tells us that the prominent researchers were actually not based in universities. Were actually doing research in their homes, doing research wherever they were. I'll give an example. One of the gentlemen I like talking about very much, maybe because of my background, because at one time I needed to be a priest. Gregor Mendel was a priest. He had been ordained a priest and actually sent to a parish to practice as a priest. But he did not leave behind his inquisitive mind, even when he was a priest. He carried it. In the backyard, he planted peas. And to his surprise, he noticed that some peas were tall and some peas were short. He counted them because he was inquisitive. He wanted to know why are they different. He said, let me repeat it another season. He repeated it. Still counted. Tall peas and short peas. They were in the ratio of 3:1. Then he said, let me crossbreed the tall and the short and see what comes out. He did it. And again, he observed the changes. Then he eventually started writing. This was not a university. That when you plant peas in this and this and this way, you observe this and this and this. Then he came up with his first law of inheritance. Physical characteristics of organisms, how we look like, me and you, is determined by internal factors. That's what he said, that occur in pairs. He didn't even know that there were genes at that time. The word gene was not in the vocabulary. He only said that the physical characteristics of an organism are as a result of internal factors which occur in pairs. That time there were platforms like in the market, or where you would find people gathered, you start telling them about your ideas. So he came and said, oh, I also have some ideas which I'd like to share. People said, which ideas? They came gathered around. He told them the story, what he had done with the peas. Eventually they told him, you know what? What you're thinking about, you don't know. You go and plant more peas. They didn't understand that he was doing some kind of research that was going to be very instrumental. Even he died a frustrated man. When they would go for the scientific expeditions, they would have different people. They would get someone who is a soldier, someone who knows the minerals. So eventually they ask someone who should be able to be on board, who understands some plants and document. They asked a certain professor, but he was busy. And then he said, okay, we can just go with a what? A junior. At least whatever he captured is what he can capture. It was a very big decision that was made accidentally. Had it not been Charles Darwin being on that, he was not even some people say, for me, academically I'm not good, I am not clever in class, I don't know numbers, I don't know research. Some people say, me, I don't know research. Nobody is born genetically a researcher. So even this Charles Darwin, he was not even good in class. It was just by saying, let's just go with this one. But he was able to make observations about the transitions of the different plants and animals that he saw, and the different diversities. And he first proposed the first theory of speciation, how different species come about. Because before his time, it was believed that God created the way we are created, a whole organism complete. For him, he said, it seems these organisms have gone through a transition, through the process of what we call evolution. That research was not in any university. When you leave biology and the evolution, even in physics, and they could give so many examples of people who have taught themselves, who have done research. Okay? Research, especially in the historical times, was not in any university. Research that one of the renowned people that you'll find in all areas of academics, Isaac Newton. In economics, you find him there. In physics, you find him there. In chemistry. He was not in a particular research. He was the head of Royal Society. But they would do, because research doesn't have to be in a university. So all those are examples to indicate. Maybe the last one is one which you have heard about, of Eureka. These people are not in universities. A crown was made for the king, and he wanted to know how pure it was. Okay? They brought it to him, and he doubted that this is pure gold. So he called all the people around him that, who can tell me whether this is pure gold or not? They failed. So they said there's one person who keeps on inquiring, asking questions about the natural world, that you can invite him. So they invited him. The king told him, but actually he did not also understand how to answer, to approach whether the thing really is made up of pure gold. But just like any professional researcher, if you have anything that you need to know about, it is part of you. When you eat, when you sleep, when you wake up. And that is what happened. So this researcher, when he was having a bath in the afternoon, an idea came to him that when he was trying to enter the bath, these bathtubs, as he was trying to step in, he saw that as his body was sinking into the water, some amount of water was getting displaced. Just like, for example, if you put water in the basin and you sit in it, some of the water will be displaced and will spill over. So that understanding came into his mind in response to the king's need to understand whether the crown was made up of pure gold or not. And he jumped out of the bath, running into the streets of Athens that time in Greece, shouting, "Eureka, Eureka," which means, "I have found it, I have found it." Other people say, "I have discovered it, I have discovered it." And he ran. But then the people, "Hey, you are naked." He didn't even know that actually he was naked. He had found that actually different masses displace different amounts of water. That if he would be able to determine a mass of, for example, 1 gram of gold and how much water it would displace, then he can weigh this crown and determine how much water it can displace. And therefore, you will be able to know whether it is made up of pure gold or not. And that one resulted to the law, which is usually taught in senior 2, the law of flotation, for example. And the other, Archimedes' principle. So this gentleman was Archimedes. Also, as an example to show that research doesn't have to be in the university. Do you have to follow along as the world demands, or you have to define your stake in the world and then follow that? And also we shall look, as we go on, 2 important things, principles of becoming a professional researcher. One is to do with your lifestyle strategy, and the second one is to do with your effective daily habits. So those ones should be able, by the time we complete those ones, help you to see whether you can replan yourself vis-a-vis what the institution provides. What you can be able to do to influence the institution, and there are certain things which are beyond your level of influence, is that funds are very key in as far as research is concerned. Connections to accessing funds is very important. So that's why some of these personality, mentorship, leadership are very important. Because sometimes a good connection is better than a good idea. So it is important that we consider funds as part of our professional development. There are not many ways of making money. There are 6 or 7 of them. If you like, you can take like less than a minute to tell you these ones. Number 1, you can make money from employment, like the way many of us are doing now. So as a researcher, you can engage in consultancy work, for example, and you can be paid. Money from employment is called a salary. And money from self-employment, call it professional fees. That is another way. So you can get your salary if you are an enthusiastic researcher and you commit it to research. You can do consultants work, you get money, you commit to research. But apart from that, you can also get money from business. So business undertaking is different from self-employment. By the term business, it means that whatever is generating for you money can do so without your direct involvement. Number 4, you can get from investment. Investment is different from business. And number 5, also you can get from grants. Now that is the one which many people talk about in the universities and research institutions. Write a grant. So a grant is different from money you get from business and all that. Then another way of getting money is through credit. You can get a loan. Someone can lend you, you know. And the last one, which I don't want you to think about even, is what we call windfall income. That is income which you have not planned for, but it just falls on you. Some people do betting, and they think it is a business. Betting is designed to help the person who is running the business. The business is not yours. Some people want to do betting as a way of doing. The person who designed the betting game is the one who is doing the business. He knows the odds. He knows how many people have to play before. So some people go in, they're expecting what we call luck, and they want to run it as a business. No. So, different ways how you can get funds. Then, lastly, the last ingredient here is publications or innovations. So once you have done research, you can generate publications, and that is unfortunately one of the main ways that people have thought about the products of research. That's why many people even now think, I'm going to write 2 papers, 3 papers, 10 papers, write a book. But as a professional researcher, you need to think beyond writing a book or publishing. When you think beyond writing books and publications and you think about innovations, you think about inventions, not only for natural science, but even for social science. Social science, you can have innovations. For example, education itself. Education is a social innovation. Strike is a social innovation. Insurance is a social innovation. Then you can have scientific innovations. Having drones deliver drugs, for example, in Rwanda, is an innovation. Having a bra that is put on by a woman and detecting breast cancer is scientific innovation. Have much more impact than publications. That doesn't mean publications are not important, but innovations are much more than publications. So through innovations, you can be able to do what? To commercialize. So as a professional researcher, it is important to think outside the box. Because remember from where we started, we said that knowledge is the most important product. You may be surprised that all that I was talking about, I was putting all this into context of why we are here. To take from here. Number 1 is for us to assess our personality against the requirements of a professional researcher. Number 2, to develop a positive mindset towards research as a profession. And number 3, to trigger actions. When we have assessed our personality, we should be able to determine that our personality is in line with what is required to be a professional researcher. If it is not in line, we should be able to develop the traits of a good professional researcher. Number 2 is for us to have the mindset towards developing our careers into professional researchers. But the mindset alone is not enough. What is important, again, is for us to take action. That is what we should be able to achieve in this workshop. To begin with, we look at types of personalities. There are different types, but there are mainly 4, which psychologists have tried to categorize. We have here on the left top side, which is type A. Type A personality is the director. This is the person that is goal-oriented, risk-taking, and good under stress. Usually people talk about motivation, that you are motivated to do something. But sometimes desperation is better. When, for example, you are in a desperate situation, you find yourself doing something, not when you have been presented something good. The carrot is no better than a stick. The stick is much better than the carrot. This person works good under stress, goal-oriented and risk-taking. Then you have type B, who is called the socializer, relationship-oriented, outgoing and enthusiastic. When, for example, you are here, he's always moving around, greeting people, even before he sits down to do his work. In the evening, he has to make phone calls to 3 or 4 people, let us go and hang out, or let us chat, or let us organize a party and we dance. Type C is the thinker. That's where many people who are good in academics fall. Detail-oriented, logical, and prepared. So you find that we have a number of people who are very good here, but very poor here. They are good as thinkers, but very poor as socializers. Then here we have D, the supporter, task-oriented, stabilizing, conscious. So if we focus this and this, I'll give an example, still from the history, especially of the personalities that were behind a number of scientific innovations and inventions. One of them is Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton was known to have never married. He's known not to have ever had children. He's known to have most of the times slept in his boots. He was a very poor socializer, but a very good thinker. Anybody who tried to do something that is similar to his, he fought. But the most important is now type X, that combines 2 or more personalities. So if you can combine type C and B, that would be good for you as a professional researcher. Because you need people to work with, at the same time, you need to think. If you're only a socializer, you'll have problems. Because research is a process that is underpinned by intellectual activity. So if you cannot think, because the foundation is here, type C, but should also be combined with the type B. Actually, in psychology, there is no worst, because each person has an advantage over the other. So if, for example, you find yourself that you are more of a socializer, then you develop your profession in socializing, organizing activities. Also, you can be a very good person there. If you find that yourself, you are a thinker, then you develop your lane in academics, writing, and analysis. Even yourself, you are a director, then you more take on the kind of leadership roles. And then so each one has different advantages and disadvantages, of course. But type X, being able to combine 2 or more personality types, is very important. So as a researcher, it would be good to be type X. That's why sometimes you hear people saying that so-and-so is a pragmatist. A pragmatic researcher is the one that is, some people call versatile, some people say liberal. Meaning that he can be able to accommodate different even points of view and be able to engage and socialize with people, be able to learn, get some ideas, be able to transfer the ideas to others. But if you find that all the time you are antisocial, you are only thinking, also you're going to have a problem. Because eventually you are going to think and then you organize a workshop for people to come, they don't come. Because it requires socialization skills. Or you are going to have a dissemination where everybody will run away from the room. This, surprisingly, you'll find that there are some of the things you have thought about before, or you have not implemented, or you have thought about, have not taken seriously. Here we have our principle number 1. It is the first principle for becoming a professional researcher. Generate your academic philosophy. The first thing you can ask, how many people have a life philosophy or a philosophy of life? So this is a theory that drives your life. Remember, anything that you see that happens in the physical, it has the theory behind it. When you see someone riding a bicycle, it has a theory behind. When you see someone driving a car, it has a theory behind. When you see someone playing football, there is a theory behind. Whatever you see happening, even work, there is a theory behind. So when it comes to the practice of research, your practice in academics, what drives? If you have never thought about it, this is the thing for you to think about. 1, you need to have a life philosophy. If that life philosophy resonates very well with your work as a researcher, as an academic, that is the best. then that means you'll have a philosophy that drives your life and a philosophy that drives your academic work, which will be a problem because you, as a researcher, and your life are one and the same. You cannot have two masks. One, you are real you, and then another one, you are you as a researcher. You must be able to have a unified philosophy. For example, you can have a philosophy that be yourself, everyone else is already taken. A theory that explains something. In academics, it is unfortunately narrowed down to the love of knowledge, because that's what we said. Philosophy is the love of knowledge. But unpacking it simply means that you philosophize, you theorize about something, okay? And the early philosophers tried to use philosophy as a way of answering problems confronting humanity. They looked at philosophy as the means through which you can understand the natural world. There are many things that you encounter in mathematics which are actually about thought. I'll give an example. Pi is equal to the 2/7. It's not something that was derived out after measuring. No. Already we are flying. In the mind, you are not restricted. I usually say, for example, you can come from here, go to Kampala and come back. We move, reach Tabundeire, Kitumba, Chenjojo, Mubende, Chegegwa. Now, say around about, come back. You are here. Haven't you already moved? Come back. Imaginative power of the mind. It means that you are tapping into an infinite power that actually drives your life as a researcher. Now, this one takes me to there are 5 levels that we relate, or at which we relate. The first level is the personal level. The first level where you relate is your person, where you relate with yourself. You can go to a room, sit down, and start discussing with yourself. With due respect to Dr. Mahajibu, still I will use the example from the Bible. When the prodigal son went and squandered all the money that the father had given him, drank, got women, eventually everything was finished. He went and started working, feeding pigs. Eventually, let me call myself to a meeting. He called himself to order. He sat down in a meeting with himself. And he started discussing. Now staying here and going back home, where even the servants of my father, he started, eventually he made the resolutions and action points. And he said, no, the resolution is by Saturday I should be home. Let me go back home. It was a meeting with himself, and that means you can be able to start relating with your personality, personal level. That is personal, and that is the most important. There are 4 other levels. After that, you go to the intimate level, you go to the family level, you go to the friendship level, and then you go to the professional level. Now, the level you are talking about working with the farmers is at the professional level. But first, you as a person, you need to first have a reflection with yourself, your traits, and eventually you'll be able to work with the other ones. When you go to look for jobs, or go to work with certain organizations, or to try to team up with certain people, do you understand their philosophies? If there's an organization, does your philosophy resonate with the philosophy of that organization? So that's why you find that you have a philosophy, also the organization has a philosophy, then you find that you can fit. But if you find that you have divergent philosophies, then eventually you'll find it hard to work in that organization. So that's how it is important for you to do what? To merge. So the dictionary defines vision as an act or power of anticipating which will or may come to be. Which will or may come to be. So as an academic, you need to anticipate in your vision which will or may come to be. So it may not need, you can see, look at yourself, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years onwards. So your vision as an academic uses your strength, aspiration, compassion, values, and ambition as a reference point for all the decisions you make in life. A professor, as a dean, as a vice chancellor, as a deputy vice chancellor, as a university secretary, depending on what, or as a lead of a research institution. That vision should be able to help you make decisions today. I have met some students who come to study here for masters. After 2 weeks, you no longer see the student. When you meet the student in town, say, I just left the course. Why? You find the person doesn't have even a reason. So you find that whatever you do and should contribute something to the vision, what you see should be very clear. So is your vision clear, or it has a lot of mist? So that's why we usually ask, especially in some other sessions where we take members to be able to create their visions. Close your eyes, look at yourself. You need to look at yourself specifically how you'd like to be, even where you'd be. If, for example, you're looking at a professor, what you'll be doing. There's some people say, I like my vision having a very big house. Yes, look at it. Are you seated in the sitting room? Are you seated in the kitchen? Or maybe on the veranda? Because it's the vision you have, eventually you'll have each detail. We shall come to another principle which comes to tapping into the higher power, especially we shall see that eventually what you create, and then you put it into practice. You put into practice towards what eventually it is realized. There is one man who one time was a child, and he was making plans of houses, like the way children play, making this plan and all that. Later, when the man was around 56 years, he was going through his things. He found, actually, there is a paper that where he had sketched a house. He had even forgotten, because he was still young, that even that thing existed. When he opened to check, he looked around the house where he was. It was exactly the same as he had sketched. So there is the power, of course now we shall not go into, there is the power of the subconscious mind, which some people don't know. That there are so many things that you can do as a result of the subconscious. And for you to think that something has been done by you, by the conscious, and yet it is influenced by the subconscious. And the subconscious is highly influenced by so many things. What you eat, what you hear, all the environment we are living in influences our. And that's why you find, as I told you, we can be in the same class, discuss, but at the end of the day, because of the power already of the subconscious mind, some people will do certain things, and some people will not do anything. So it is better for you to do certain things, especially when it comes to research. You do, for example, if you want to learn a software, you do, so that it moves from your conscious to your subconscious. So when it has moved to your subconscious, then it will be very easy for you to do it. It is like, for example, when you are learning to drive a car. At first, you have a lot of, you are timid. Where can I put? You are very conscious. You have to put the key here. You have now to step. You have to turn it. You are very conscious about whatever you are doing. But once you have learned it several times, eventually you find that as you speak to another person on the window, as you answer the phone, you are driving. Already all those actions are being done subconsciously. And once you have learned something very well, it enters into your subconscious. So even when you set your vision, think about it. Eventually, after some time, it will become part and parcel of you. Usually, especially we shall look at habits, maybe I can mention it now. It takes 21 days for you to be able to develop a habit. If you want to wake up at 4, you start today. You count 21 days. Don't miss any day. That's what research has shown. Eventually, by the 22nd day, it will be already automatic. That when it reaches 4, already you are. Examples of some life visions they have here that they can give you to help you also to visions. Oh, here it is telling me my network is off. The vision may be to inspire others to find their own unique destiny. To constantly break barriers, ceilings, and show others what is truly possible. Remember, a vision is different from a goal. We shall go there. Because a vision is the general picture of what you paint. And so, for example, there is another one here which you can, to be health, good, rich, and wise man. Health, good, rich, and wise woman. So if you know, for example, that by the time you clock 60, you should be healthy, you should be good, meaning that you are relating with others very well, you should be rich, you're not struggling that you what to eat or what to dress, and you should be wise. Then you work towards that. So that is the what? That is the vision. Just like the philosophy. Also the vision helps you to handle the trials and tribulations you may come your way, to find something to look out. Just find the reason to keep going. And also vision helps you to make choices of your friends and the company you keep. Are the friends and the company you keep, do they have a vision of being healthy? Do they have a vision of being rich? Do they have a vision of publishing papers? Do they have a vision of becoming professors? Do they have a vision of becoming, of winning grants? So that helps you that it would even be good if you find a woman or a husband to marry, to ask, what is your vision? Sometimes when I tell people like this, they think that I'm speaking academically. But in reality, you find someone down the road, because as we said at the beginning, that some of these things are triggered by emotion. So you don't engage in that kind of discussion. And 4 years down the road, you find actually the vision you have and her vision are totally divergent. Or even she doesn't have any vision, or he doesn't have any vision. It is two-way. But if you say, yes, my plan is to be able to be healthy at the age of 60 or 70. That means you are going to put in plan processes how you are going to avoid junk food and you eat healthy food. You are going to be waking each other up to go for exercise. You are going to know that this time is enough for sleep, please, So, does your wife know your vision? Does your husband know your vision? So, usually some people say that if you have a vision, you better even write it either in the bedroom, you put another one in the sitting room, another one in the kitchen, and as you go out. So that every day, you look at it. So when it comes to you, as a researcher, you pray towards your what? Your vision. What you have started looking at yourself. And actually they say that once you imagine, now this is the power of the imaginative mind, your state, actually the body also follows suit. If you imagine your health, you know your health. And that is the aspect of what they call the positive mantra, auto-suggestion. Eventually, even the body will respond accordingly. Yes. And then your behaviors. If you know that my vision, you start, some people say that fake it until you be it. Or fake it until you make it. So when you are living as a rich man, for example, that is your vision. Start doing it, eventually it will come. But if you start saying, that is, in summary, what is required in as far as your vision is concerned. And before even being appointed professor, already my vision was defined as such. Okay? That's why we started with evaluating yourself, where you are and where you want to be. Because if you don't do that, eventually you'll not know. It has been said, for example, this is now generally speaking,